People often mistake silence for weakness. My brother-in-law, Ryan Mercer, certainly did. For 3 years, he treated me like I was nothing more than an overly protective older brother who couldn't accept that his little sister had grown up. Whenever I questioned something about his behavior, he would flash that polished smile, place an arm around Lily's shoulders, and make me look paranoid. "Relax, Ethan," he'd say, "your sister is happy." And every time, Lily would force a smile and nod. At first I believed her, or at least I wanted to. Growing up, Lily and I had been inseparable. After our parents died when she was 16 and I was 21, we only had each other. I worked 2 jobs to help keep a roof over our heads while finishing college. She studied hard-earned scholarships and somehow kept her bright spirit alive despite everything we'd lost. We made a promise during those difficult years. If either of us was ever in real danger and couldn't ask for help openly, we'd use a secret distress code. Not a phrase, not a word, just a random sequence of numbers that meant nothing to anyone else. We were kids when we created it, hiding in our tiny apartment during a thunderstorm. It seemed like a silly game back then. Neither of us ever expected to actually use it. Years passed. Life improved. I built a successful cybersecurity consulting business. Lily became a talented graphic designer. Things finally seemed normal again. Then Ryan appeared. He was handsome, confident, and wealthy. Everyone loved him, especially Lily. Within a year they were married. At first, everything seemed perfect. The expensive vacations, the beautiful house, the social media photos filled with smiles. But gradually, something changed. Lily stopped calling as often. Family dinners became rare. She missed birthdays, ignored messages, canceled plans at the last minute. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, she always had an explanation. "Work has been crazy. We've been traveling. I'm just tired." The excuses never stopped. Neither did the growing knot in my stomach. There were little things I couldn't ignore. Ryan always answered questions directed at her. He constantly checked her phone. He criticized her clothes, her friends, even her hobbies. Yet somehow he did it so smoothly that nobody else seemed to notice. Over time, Lily's bright personality faded. The confident young woman I knew seemed trapped behind careful smiles and nervous glances. I tried talking to her privately several times. Every conversation ended the same way. "I'm fine, Ethan." Those 3 words became a wall between us. A wall I couldn't break. Then came the night everything changed. It was nearly midnight. I was sitting in my home office reviewing security reports when my phone vibrated. A text message from Lily. I smiled automatically. She rarely messaged that late, but the smile vanished the second I opened it. The message contained only 6 numbers. Nothing else, no greeting, no explanation, no punctuation, just 6 numbers. My blood turned cold. I stared at the screen, read it again, then again. The numbers were our code. The exact distress signal we had created 15 years earlier. A code we had never used. A code nobody else knew existed. For several seconds I couldn't move. My heart pounded so hard it felt painful. There was only one reason Lily would send that message. She was in danger, real danger. I immediately called her. The phone rang once, twice, then someone answered. It wasn't Lily. It was Ryan. "Hey, Ethan," he said casually. I gripped the phone tighter. "Where's Lily?" A brief pause. "Sleeping. Put her on. She's exhausted." My instincts screamed that something was wrong. I kept my voice steady. "She just texted me." Ryan chuckled, probably by accident. "She's been half asleep all evening." The explanation sounded rehearsed. Too quick, too smooth. I knew my sister. She wouldn't accidentally send that code. Not ever. "Tell her to call me tomorrow," I said. Sure thing. The line disconnected. I immediately texted Lily. No response. I called again, straight to voicemail. Again, voicemail, again, nothing. The silence felt heavier with every passing minute. I sat alone in the darkness of my office, staring at the message on my screen. 6 numbers, a childhood promise, a cry for help, and for the first time in years I stopped wondering whether Ryan was hiding something. I knew he was. The only question now was how far he had gone. As dawn approached, I made a decision. If Ryan Mercer thought I was harmless, He was about to discover just how dangerous a determined brother could become when his sister was asking to be saved. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the 6 numbers glowing on my phone screen. The distress code, Lily's distress code. By sunrise, I had already made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for another message. If my sister was in trouble, I would find out the truth myself. The first thing I did was drive to her house. Ryan and Lily lived in an upscale neighborhood on the edge of the city, surrounded by manicured lawns and expensive homes. Everything about the place screamed success. When I knocked on the front door, Ryan answered almost immediately. His smile appeared the second he saw me. "Ethan, this is a surprise. Is Lily home?" His smile tightened slightly. "She's resting. I'd like to see her." For a moment, something cold flashed in his eyes. Then it disappeared. "She's not feeling well." I stepped forward. "I'll only be a minute." Before Ryan could answer, I heard footsteps. Lily appeared at the end of the hallway. My heart sank. She looked exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. Her shoulders were slumped, and when she saw me, a brief flicker of relief crossed her face before she quickly hid it. "Ethan." Her voice sounded weak. "You okay?" I asked. She glanced toward Ryan. That single glance told me everything. People don't look at their husbands for permission unless they're afraid. "I'm fine," she said softly. The familiar words felt rehearsed. Ryan wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "See, everything's okay." I nodded slowly. Outwardly calm, inside every alarm bell was screaming. After a few minutes I left, but I wasn't giving up. Not this time. Back at my office, I began digging. Cybersecurity had taught me something important over the years. Everyone leaves a trail, especially people who believe they're untouchable. Ryan had always bragged about his business empire. Luxury real estate investments, private consulting firms, international partnerships. The image was impressive. Too impressive, the more I researched, the stranger things became. Several companies connected to Ryan existed only on paper. Financial records didn't match public statements. Properties changed ownership repeatedly through shell corporations. Millions of dollars seemed to appear and disappear without explanation. None of it proved a crime, but it certainly didn't look legitimate. 3 days later, I hired a private investigator. His name was Marcus Doyle, a former detective with a reputation for finding answers. After reviewing everything I'd gathered, Marcus frowned. "This guy is hiding something. Can you prove it?" He leaned back in his chair. "Give me time." Time was the one thing I felt I didn't have. Still, Marcus got to work. Meanwhile, I kept trying to reach Lily. Most calls went unanswered. When she did respond, her messages were painfully short. "I'm okay. Busy right now. Talk later." None of it sounded like her. A week passed, then Marcus called. "You need to see this." I drove straight to his office. Several folders sat on his desk. Inside were photographs, bank records, and corporate documents. The deeper I looked, the worse it became. Ryan's businesses were drowning in debt, millions of dollars in debt. Far from being successful, he was desperately trying to keep everything from collapsing. Then I found something that made my stomach turn. Lily's name, over and over again. Loan documents, corporate filings, financial guarantees. She had unknowingly signed paperwork connecting her to nearly every failing company Ryan owned. If everything collapsed, she could be blamed alongside him. She wasn't his wife, she was his shield. The realization filled me with rage. Ryan wasn't just controlling her, he was using her, sacrificing her future to protect himself. Then Marcus slid one final photograph across the desk. "What is this?" I asked. "I followed them yesterday." The image showed Ryan standing outside a restaurant. But he wasn't alone. A woman I didn't recognize stood beside him. They weren't conducting business. They were kissing. I stared at the photo. My jaw tightened. Lily was risking everything for a man who was betraying her in every possible way. Financially, emotionally, personally, and somehow it still got worse. That evening my phone buzzed. A new message from Lily, only 4 words. "He's planning something big." Before I could reply, another message arrived. "Can't talk watching me." I immediately called, no answer. Seconds later, another text appeared. My pulse quickened as I read it. Please be careful. For the first time, my sister wasn't pretending anymore. She wasn't saying she was fine. She wasn't making excuses. She was warning me, and at that moment I realized something terrifying. Ryan knew I was getting closer to the truth, and desperate people were often the most dangerous of all. The moment I read Lily's warning, I knew the situation had changed. Until then, I had been investigating quietly, collecting information and trying to understand what Ryan was hiding. But now my sister had confirmed it herself. She was scared, and Ryan knew I was asking questions. That made him dangerous. For the next several days, I operated carefully. Every phone call, every email, every meeting was planned. If Ryan was watching Lily, there was a good chance he was watching me too. Marcus continued digging into Ryan's finances, while I focused on the digital side of things. The evidence kept piling up: fake invoices, forged contracts, hidden bank accounts, money transfers routed through shell companies. The picture was becoming painfully clear. Ryan's entire business empire was a house of cards. He wasn't building wealth. He was moving money around fast enough to keep people from noticing the cracks. And when everything finally collapsed, Lily would be standing right beside him in the legal documents. She would become the perfect scapegoat. One afternoon, Marcus walked into my office carrying a thick folder. His expression was grim. You were right. I looked up. About what? He plans to leave. The room suddenly felt colder. What do you mean? Marcus opened the folder. Private flight reservations, international banking activity, property listings. He's liquidating assets. I stared at the documents. Ryan wasn't preparing for a vacation. He was preparing an escape. What about Lily? Marcus sighed. Nothing indicates she's going with him. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. Ryan intended to flee the country. Leave his debts behind, leave his crimes behind, and leave my sister to deal with the consequences. The anger that hit me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced, but anger wouldn't save Lily, evidence would. That evening, something unexpected happened. My phone received an encrypted email. The sender was anonymous. But I immediately recognized the attachment. A childhood drawing, a sketch Lily and I had made together years ago. It was her way of confirming the message came from her. My hands trembled as I opened the attached files. Inside were dozens of photographs, financial statements, contracts, private notes, screenshots of conversations. Lily had been secretly collecting evidence for months, maybe longer. At the bottom of the email was a single sentence. Use this before it's too late. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. Despite everything Ryan had done, Lily had never stopped fighting. She had simply been waiting for an opportunity, and now she was trusting me to finish what she had started. The next morning, I contacted an attorney named Rebecca Lawson. She specialized in corporate fraud cases and had a reputation for being relentless. After reviewing the evidence, she looked stunned. This is enormous. Can we stop him? Rebecca nodded slowly. Oh yes, for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Over the next 10 days, a team of lawyers and federal investigators quietly built a case. The evidence from Lily connected every missing piece: Ryan's fraud, his hidden accounts, his false companies. Everything. Meanwhile, Ryan remained completely confident. In fact, he seemed more arrogant than ever. He even called me one afternoon. Ethan, he said cheerfully. I already hated the sound of his voice. What do you want? I hear you've been asking questions. I stayed silent. Ryan laughed. You always were protective. His tone became mocking. But you're wasting your time. You think so? I know so. He chuckled. People like you don't understand how the real world works. I let him keep talking. Every word revealed the same thing. He believed he had already won. He thought I was harmless. Exactly the way he always had. A few days later, invitations appeared across the city. Ryan was hosting an exclusive business gala. Investors, partners, media representatives, local politicians, everyone who mattered would be there. According to the invitation, Ryan planned to announce the biggest expansion of his career. Marcus looked at me and smiled. Talk about perfect timing. He was right. Ryan had unknowingly chosen the exact stage for his own downfall. The night before the event, my phone buzzed, a message from Lily, the first direct message she'd sent in weeks. Only 3 words, "Tomorrow ends everything." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Tomorrow would indeed change everything. One way or another, across town Ryan was probably celebrating, preparing speeches, practicing smiles, imagining the applause he would receive. He had no idea investigators were preparing warrants. No idea his financial records had been exposed. No idea his own wife had helped bring the truth into the light. Most importantly, he had no idea that the quiet brother he had mocked for years was about to destroy the illusion he had spent a lifetime creating. And when the doors opened at his grand celebration tomorrow night, Ryan Mercer would finally learn that the most dangerous people are often the ones you underestimate. The ballroom glittered with wealth and power. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting golden light across hundreds of guests, dressed in expensive suits and designer gowns. Waiters moved through the crowd carrying silver trays, while a string quartet played softly near the stage. Ryan Mercer stood at the center of it all, smiling, laughing, shaking hands, looking every bit like the successful businessman he pretended to be. If someone walked into the room without knowing the truth, they would have believed he had everything. Money, influence, respect, control, but I knew something the rest of the room didn't. His empire was already collapsing. He just hadn't heard the sound of it yet. I stood near the back of the ballroom, watching quietly. Marcus stood beside me. A few feet away, attorney Rebecca Lawson reviewed documents on her tablet one final time. Everything was ready. Months of deception, weeks of investigation, days of preparation, all leading to this moment. Across the room, I spotted Lily. My chest tightened. She looked nervous but determined. For the first time in years, I didn't see fear in her eyes. I saw resolve. She noticed me and gave a small nod. That simple gesture said everything. No matter what happened next, she was no longer facing it alone. A few minutes later, Ryan stepped onto the stage. The room erupted into applause. He raised his hands dramatically. "Thank you, everyone." The crowd settled. Ryan smiled confidently. "This has been the most successful year of my career." The lie rolled off his tongue effortlessly. He launched into a speech about growth, opportunity, and exciting new investments. People listened carefully. Some even took notes. Others nodded in admiration. I wondered how many of them would still admire him 10 minutes from now. Ryan continued speaking. "My company is stronger than ever." That was the moment the ballroom doors opened. The room fell silent. Several federal investigators entered. Uniformed officers followed behind them. Conversation stopped instantly. Confused guests turned toward the entrance. Ryan frowned. For a brief second, uncertainty appeared on his face. Then he laughed. "Looks like someone's at the wrong event." Nobody laughed with him. The lead investigator walked directly toward the stage. The silence became almost unbearable. Ryan's smile began to fade. "What is this?" he demanded. The investigator stepped forward. "Ryan Mercer, we have warrants authorizing the seizure of financial records and your arrest in connection with multiple counts of fraud, money laundering, and financial conspiracy." Gasps spread across the ballroom. Several guests stared in shock. Others immediately stepped away from Ryan as though he carried a contagious disease. "No," Ryan snapped. "This is a mistake." The investigator calmly handed him official documents. "It's not a mistake." Ryan scanned the pages. The color drained from his face. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked genuinely afraid. Then things became worse, much worse. Large screens behind the stage suddenly lit up. Rebecca had arranged it. One by one, documents appeared, bank transfers, shell corporations, forged signatures, secret accounts. Evidence connected to every fraudulent transaction. The room watched in stunned silence. Ryan's carefully crafted image disintegrated before their eyes. Investors looked horrified. Business partners looked furious. Reporters began taking photographs. The man who had spent years controlling every narrative had lost control completely. Then Ryan saw Lily. His expression hardened. "You did this." The accusation echoed through the room. Lily didn't flinch. "No," she said calmly. "You did." For a moment nobody moved, then Ryan's shoulders slumped. The fight seemed to leave him all at once. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists. The sound felt strangely small after so many years of damage. As officers escorted him away, he looked directly at me. There was no arrogance left, no confidence, only disbelief. He truly couldn't understand how he had lost, because he had spent years underestimating the people around him. Especially me. The following months brought dramatic changes. Ryan's assets were frozen. His companies collapsed. His criminal network unraveled under investigation. Several accomplices accepted plea deals and cooperated with authorities. Meanwhile, Lily was officially cleared of any wrongdoing. The evidence proved she had been manipulated and used. Every false document, every forged agreement, every hidden transaction, the truth protected her exactly as we'd hoped. One evening, several months later, Lily and I sat together on the porch of her new apartment. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold. For the first time in years she looked peaceful. "Do you remember the storm?" she asked quietly. I smiled. "The night we created the distress code," she nodded. "We were just kids, terrified kids." A small laugh escaped her. Then tears filled her eyes. "I never thought I'd actually need it." I squeezed her hand gently, "But you used it." She looked toward the horizon. "And you came?" In that moment, I realized something important. The sweetest revenge wasn't watching Ryan lose everything. It wasn't the arrest. It wasn't the public humiliation. The sweetest revenge was seeing my sister free. Free from fear, free from control, free to live her own life again. All because of a promise made between two children during a thunderstorm. A promise that, years later, became the message that destroyed a monster hiding behind a perfect smile.